after a tornado tore through Uxbridge, many say they're still struggling with insurance claims.
This was overwhelming. Like, it was the most devastating thing that's had to happen to our business and our home.
We revisit the region where a violent storm destroyed a brewery, historic homes and community hubs, and
basketball, clothes, the social impact that he had amongst his friends.
A community comes together in honor of a teen boy who would have turned 16 today. Instead, he was gunned down inside his home. How they're bringing one of his biggest dreams to life.
I did a tambourine, I read a comic book, and I met my friend.
Long weekend fun, plus ahead of Victoria Day fireworks, police beef up patrols at Ashbridges Bay.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Thanks for joining us. It was this time last year that a powerful storm tore through the province, knocking out power and leveling some homes and businesses. The storm leaving behind a path of destruction, especially in the town of Uxbridge. It declared a local state of emergency at the time. As you can see, some buildings reduced to rubble and streets were blocked by uprooted trees. The mayor says the community is still recovering from all the damage.
Are getting back to normal a little bit more every day. Many people had to actually leave Uxbridge because we don't have enough rental housing here. We still have two of our higher density housing units are still not occupied. So there's still a lot of work to do here on the ground. And there's plenty of construction happening all over Uxbridge. The resilience of the Uxbridge community was unbelievable. But as the time moved on, it was more about getting insurance claims in and getting, engineering reports and building permits and things like that. Everyone's anxious to get life back to normal. Everyone is anxious to be back in the home, that they were in before. We will rebuild. We will be stronger than ever. It's just going to take a little bit more time.
Yeah, as you heard, their rebuilding still underway by businesses and families who saw their homes and livelihoods ripped away in a flash. Katie Nicholson takes us there.
This garage door blew in, and the theory is it created a vacuum, and that ripped this roof off.
The tornado that tore through Uxbridge and destroyed this brewery, just part of a monster storm system called a derecho that toppled trees and power lines and left Rob Gerard and Joanne Richter without their brew pub and more.
It's hard to, I'm not a guy who cries a lot, but this was overwhelming. It was the most devastating thing that's had to happen to our business and our home.
Their premium business insurance kicked in right away. Their home insurance was another story.
An insurance company should be able to deal with a disaster. I didn't have the people, and it seemed just so disorganized.
Last year, the insurance industry paid out $3.1 billion because of severe weather events, which the Insurance Bureau of Canada says have been steadily increasing and increasing the demands on adjusters.
We do know that we're seeing a skilled labor shortage, and there's just not enough people to go around to manage all the claims immediately.
And it could get worse. Many long-timers in the industry are now eyeing retirement. Companies are trying to recruit.
We need to bring in a lot more people.
A few blocks away from the brewery, this clock stopped the moment the tornado hit Ashley Woodham's home. It was recovered from the rubble. Time also seemed to stop when it took days for her to get a hold of her broker.
Be open on weekends. Have something available. I lost my house. I don't know where those insurance documents were. So in those first moments, not having any answers until Tuesday.
She may not be in her new home until the end of the year. Still, she knows she's one of the lucky ones.
Some of them are still waiting to hear from their insurance company. There's a lot of vacant land here, and I'm not going to have neighbors for a while.
And as another summer of potential weather disasters looms, that wait may only get longer. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Uxbridge, Ontario.
Sophia joins us now. Yeah, you hear the mayor talking about strength and resilience, and the people there continue 12 months later to need that. And I know you and I were both working that night downtown, it sort of passed in a flash. We kind of thought, oh, it's over. We had no idea the scope of the damage that was happening that night.
Yeah, the scope and the scale. I remember we tracked it live on the newscast, and it
Right.
wasn't until hours afterwards as we really tracked the track and the trail of destruction all the way from Windsor to Quebec City. It lasted 8 hours, a path of destruction over 1,000 kilometers. Feels like yesterday as we look back at some of the numbers here, over 1 million without power. It was really a once-in-a-lifetime kind of storm. Not only the tornadoes, but also the straight line winds that were in excess of 130 kilometers an hour. So definitely the type of storm that you only see really once in a couple generations. Nothing like that in the forecast for the next long range. Luckily, not a lot of storms to talk about. We do have a few dips in the temperature forecast for the next few days to talk about, but really a lot of sun, not a lot of cloud. If you're looking forward to the firework timing for Monday, it will be pretty and clear, but a little cool near the lake shore. So you're going to want to layer up and wear that sweater if you're anywhere near the east end of the GTA with that lake breeze. Now coming up, we'll talk about the next little blip in the radar as far as temperatures go in the long range forecast. But other than that, we are breathing a sigh of relief as a storm-free forecast we are bringing to you this Victoria Day long weekend. Shannon.
Okay, thanks, Sophia. We'll see you a little later on in the show.
Sounds good.
Fireworks lighting up the sky just moments ago for the long weekend. You're looking at Canada's Wonderland, where 6,000 colorful explosions made for a pretty fun night. Meg Roberts takes a look at all the fun happening this weekend, plus the extra steps police are taking for tomorrow's big fireworks show at Ashbridges Bay.
It's just so invigorating, after a long winter we feel, and now it's all up and about, and it's enjoying a good time.
Beach, fireworks, classic day. Yeah, long weekend.
A beautiful day to spend some time with loved ones. At the Harbourfront, families gathered for Junior, an international children's festival, all about sparking the imagination of young people with music, theater, food, and art.
In COVID, nothing happened. Like, even we were telling her, don't do that. Don't play with kids. Don't eat this. Don't touch this. But now I'm so glad.
It's the first time 2-year-old Zaria has experienced this kind of fun. She was born during the pandemic.
Thank God. I'm so glad, right? We really want this environment, especially for our kids to grow with this freedom.
And it's not Victoria Day without the fireworks. Tonight, the sky lit up over Wonderland, and tomorrow, a big show planned at Ashbridges Bay. Police ramping up patrols after last year's celebration got out of control. 2 men were shot, another stabbed, even a police horse was injured.
We're going to have police officers in police cars, police officers on bikes, police officers on bicycles, police officers on horseback.
Toronto police say bonfires and personal fireworks in city parks and on beaches are prohibited and alcohol is not allowed. But certainly some volleyball, barbecue, and catching up with loved ones is highly encouraged. Meg Roberts, CBC News, Toronto.
Turning to some other stories next and new data to share with you. We've been reporting extensively about the 10 Canadian police officers killed in the line of duty in the last year. Many police associations calling it unprecedented. Well, new research from the University of Ottawa is challenging that claim. Bobby Ristova has the CBC News exclusive.
Police stand shoulder to shoulder at a somber ceremony, mourning those killed in the line of duty. New data used police websites, memorial groups, and past research to track all on-duty officer deaths from 1962 to now. The numbers show the recent string of deaths hasn't been seen since the early 1960s. But a researcher behind the data said there was important context to consider.
There was 2.7 times fewer officers in 1962 than there are now, right? So, the mortality rate was significantly higher back then.
The research also tracked how officers died. Since 1962, car crashes have killed 184 officers, while shootings have killed 151. That said, of the 10 officers who died since September 2022, just 1 died in a car crash. One death in particular prompted calls for national bail reform. In December, OPP Constable Greg Piershala was shot dead in Haldimand County, south of Hamilton, while responding to a vehicle in the ditch. One of those accused of killing him was out on bail and had a warrant out for his arrest, which prompted police associations to speak out. The president of the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police doesn't dispute the numbers, but says policing has changed since the 1960s, with more guns on the streets, society coming out of a pandemic, and other factors.
A lot more unpredictable behavior with people that are on opioids or meth. Certainly, there's been a contribution with mental health and the crisis that I think we see ourselves in across the country. Again, making for really unpredictable, an unpredictable environment at times.
Piershala's death and the series of recent killings put pressure on the government to act. This past week, the Liberals proposed changes to the criminal code. One of the key changes would force repeat offenders to have to prove why they should get bail in violent crimes involving weapons. The Justice Minister said changing the bail system will help.
What we've done here is targeted a really narrow set of offenses. Repeat violent offenders with a weapon.
The researcher and other advocates say the focus should be on improving housing, healthcare, education, and services to help inmates transition back into society. Bobby Hristova, CBC News, Hamilton.
A woman is dead, a man in custody tonight. Toronto police say they got a call for unknown trouble around noon.
The female was pronounced dead and the male was placed under arrest. It is believed that the male and female were known to each other, but in what capacity, we have not established that at this time.
No charges have been laid yet. There are few other details. We'll bring you more as we learn them. A community coming together today to honor the life of a teen boy. Sheldon Samuda was shot and killed last year inside his own home. Today would have been his 16th birthday. Friends and family say they're making one of his biggest dreams come true.
So sorry that he's not here to enjoy it for himself. I know he would have been going crazy, but I know he's here and he's looking on and he's happy to see the crowd that came out for support of him.
When he passed, he let it be known in a journal that he wrote, he wanted to sell clothes. So I felt like it was my duty, myself, his brothers, his family members, his friends, to start his clothing line called X-Bands. So that's something we were doing in this event. Like, look around you, look around you. This is everybody that Sheldon had love for, you know what I mean? For you, Sheldon.
As for the investigation, an 18-year-old man was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. We are heading into a quick commercial break. We're back with you in 3 minutes. No rest this long weekend for those vying for Toronto's top job at City Hall. Mitzi Hunter in Brampton talking housing.
We are in a housing crisis, and that is why we need to unlock public lands to build more affordable housing for renters and people who have a chance to buy their home. My vision is that building communities that fit into our neighborhoods is exactly what Toronto needs at this time.
She's proposing small and medium-sized buildings in family-oriented neighborhoods surrounded by green space and a 5-point plan that includes protections for renters. Meantime, Anna Bailao was also out this weekend announcing her plan for Scarborough transit riders.
I have always and will always support the possible transit for Scarborough residents, including your subway.
She says if elected, she'll reduce single fares on the SRT replacement bus to $2 until the BRT route is constructed, plus secure a deal from the provincial and federal governments for the Scarborough BRT. And candidate Anthony Peruzza spent this morning sharing his plans for young people.
So important for kids to be able to access after-school programs, to get away from their cell phones and their video equipment at home, to get out, engage with other children in educational activities.
He's promising to implement a 3 to 6 p.m. after-school program in libraries, community centers, and schools across the city, available to any kids who need care regardless of a family's income. So, lots of promises being made on the campaign trail. This week also saw the first big debate. If you missed it, don't worry, there's 2 more coming up this week. I met up with Sean Jeffords at City Hall. He talks about some of the standout moments from that first debate.
Well, I think it really was the Q&A, and it was very clear who everyone in this race thinks the front runner is, because they all turned and squared off and had questions for Olivia Chow. And some of them, you know, the tone, I would say, was really varied across the board in terms of those attacks. Some were a little more mild, some were pretty blunt. But Chow was really prepared, it seemed to me. She knew that she was going to be the focus of a lot of the discussion, and she used it to her advantage. It actually gave her a lot more time to talk, really, about her issues and her platform.
There's more to come, but it does, you know, feel like we are hurtling towards June 26th. We've got these 2 debates next week. What are you going to be watching for?
I think really how the campaigns, again, engage with Olivia Chow. And no doubt they're going to be trying to just stop any momentum that she's got right now and pull votes away from her. And, you know, we saw a little bit of the tactics that people are using in some of the calculated ways that people are trying to do it. I mean, I mentioned Brad Bradford. He was very sharp in his criticisms. He's trying to strike a contrast there. He's trying to show Olivia Chow is the tax and spend activist, as he would say. Josh Matlow's approach is really different. I think he is trying to draw voters away from her with some more gentle contrasts and saying, hey, if you don't necessarily line up with her fiscal policy, I'm your candidate, right? And I think we're going to start to see more of that. But you know, I think there also will be more policy that people want to talk about, personal stories too, you know, just an opportunity for voters to get to know these folks in a real, tangible, meaningful way. And we saw a little bit of that in the Daily Bread debate. I think we'll see more of it in these next 2 debates.
We're hearing every day, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. A lot of promises, but people kind of want to get a sense of the person.
And it can be really hard to keep track of all of the promises, right? I was looking through my inbox this week. I put together a weekly analysis piece for our website, and I try to summarize all of this policy. There were more than 25 policy announcements by the top tier candidates this week. That's kind of got my head spinning, let alone people who are just casually trying to, you know, follow this race. So yeah, those personal stories are really going to matter, and it's going to help people decide, hey, is this the person that I want representing Toronto and in the mayor's office, right? To be our ambassador here in the city.
So much to think about. We really appreciate all your analysis.
Thanks, Jen. I appreciate having these chats with you.
A golfer from southwestern Ontario aiming to make a splash at the PGA Championship, Corey Connors started the day just within striking distance of making history, but as Travis Danraj tells us, a golfer on a break from his day job stole the show.
From Canada, Corey Connors.
The PGA Championship trophy will not sit on Corey Connors' mantle this year. Still, the 31-year-old from Listowel, Ontario, who has been dreaming of being a pro since he was a kid, has a lot to be proud of. How old were you there?
9 years old, probably.
9 years old. At 9 years old, did you ever think that you would make it this far in golf?
You know, I dreamed as if I would, but you know, never thought it would be a reality.
Connors came into the final round in second place, but quickly trickled down the leaderboard. Still, fans say he's proved he's one of the best.
I think he's kind of held his own today. I'm pretty proud of him.
Competing in something like this, being in the second to last group, it's amazing.
There were a record 6 Canadians in the field this year.
PGA professional Michael Block.
But it was an American that stole the show, culminating with this beauty.
The fairy tale story gets better. No way. Rory, did it go in?
A hole-in-one for 46-year-old Michael Block.
No.
The capper on a dream week for the unlikely star. Block teaches lessons at a public course in California. The reaction back at his home club? We'll take a look. Block has become a fan favorite.
Block's crazy, came out of nowhere, really.
Oh, the crowd erupted, it was crazy. Block by block.
Experts say his 15th place finish is simply incredible, and how he's handling it, equally masterful.
He was at the pub last night, he was drinking beers, they showed him on social media, just hanging out with everyone, and it's no surprise that all the fans around here were so excited to see him play as well as he did.
Now, Block's finish qualifies him for the championship next year, and his payday wasn't so bad either. $300,000, a little bit more than those golf lessons back in California. Now, as for Connors, it's not all doom and gloom. There are still 2 more majors on the schedule, and he's expected to be at both. Travis Stanrare, CBC News, Rochester, New York.
Okay, quite the sight in Toronto this morning. A group of men and women on motorbikes dressed to the nines, and this just wasn't any fashion statement.
The Distinguished Gentleman's Ride has raised almost $40 million USD. Thanks to you guys and ladies.
Today, all over the world, thousands of bikers raising money for prostate cancer and men's mental health programs, all for the Movember Foundation. This is the 12th annual Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, and so far, more than $90,000 has been raised in Toronto alone. Nice day for a bike ride. Sounds like tomorrow won't be too bad either.
No, plenty of sunshine. What an accomplishment for all of them as well.
Yeah.
And I count this forecast a good accomplishment as well. You might need a sweater at times. We start with the temperatures. That'll really be the big story this week, but it's not a ton to write home to mom about. Look at the Sunday overnight conditions. Look at cottage country and then look a little farther to the north. Yes, that's a wind chill, and yes, it will be below the freezing mark. There are frost advisories out, Shannon, everywhere from Ottawa, Peterborough, up to Sudbury and Timmins. You want to bring in any frost-sensitive plants. But when we're talking about a cool, clear, and frosty night, it leads to kind of a clear next day as well, usually, and it'll be a nice, clear Victoria day. So not really a ton of clouds, which is good for the firework vantage points, but you might need that sweater around, especially any of the lakeshore regions. A little bit of wind chill for the evening forecast, 12 at the feels like in Hamilton, 13 for those of you in Kingston, and 14 around the Toronto lake shores. Lots of sunshine to boot, but Monday won't be the coldest of this upcoming work week. Look at midweek, slight shower chance on Wednesday. And then we dip down to temperatures that are anywhere from 5 to 7 degrees below normal. A little bit of a cold snap Wednesday to Friday, especially in parts of the eastern portion of the province, barely getting to the double digits on Wednesday in Ottawa. It's this trough that makes a few swings and misses at us throughout this upcoming week and sticks around for the tail end of the week for these below seasonal conditions. But even though it'll be a little chilly, yes, tons of sunshine, so I will take that. It is still good weather for all the gardening and the golfing, which really should be the priorities this time of year, right?
Sunshine, but I'm gonna have to haul in some plants. That's chilly.
Yeah, it is chilly. Even around the Parry Sound area, it could be hovering around the freezing mark as well for the next 12 hours. So yeah, take care of those plants.
Okay, thanks so much, Sophia. Thanks for being with us on a long weekend.
Anytime.
That is our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching. We want to take you back to Canada's Wonderland, where fireworks lit up the night sky tonight. 6,000 colorful explosions at the big show. More fireworks for you tomorrow night at Ashbridges Bay. Chris Glover is here with you tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Have a great week.